One of the things I love is at the airport is we're not on edge at all, but people are sort of thinking, what's it going to be like? Especially people who are perhaps coming on their own for the first time on a tour. And they're wise to come with Ace, because Ace does look after people very well from the moment, you know, you pick up the phone. There's a lovely person just like you, just ready to encourage. And so what I love is actually seeing the people at the beginning, apart from the, you know, the old timers who've been going forever, and just thinking, you know, in about a week's time we'll all be best of friends and relaxed. And it's lovely, you watch them relaxing during the tour. If you're wandering through the streets of Vienna, and there's an awful lot of other people, and I'm not 6'9", so you want to be evident. I once had, before I had the red hat, the sort of apprentice to the red hat was a yellow umbrella which had a red knob in the middle of it which flashed, and it also had a lion which roared. And I had this one in Strasbourg, and I remember going through packed streets with this thing held high. And one of the nice things was everybody coming towards us were laughing their heads off because this roaring lion, that was good. But the red hat really works, and I'm now on red hat number 4. Oh. And in fact, even at this minute, there's a red hat sitting in my suitcase in a hotel in Oxford waiting for next week. We arrived in Berlin airport with an Ace group, and I spotted Simon Rattle. You couldn't help but meet up at the carousel. My little daughter, Jane, the one who was in Nepal, when she was 1.5, Simon was 17, and at Dartington Summer School, he would be conducting the choir as a 17-year-old, and then at tea time, he came across every day, not to talk to Margaret and me, but to talk to Jane, this little 1.5-year-old. I reminded him of this at the airport at Berlin Tegel, and he said, he asked what she was doing now. It was very nice of him. And he said, looked at us both and said, our hair has changed colour since then, which is true. So it was very nice, very friendly. But by the evening, the piano had been taken from the embassy entrance hall out onto a sort of stone platform in the garden. And this is February, and the ambassador by evening time has put his white cardigan on. He's a bit chilly, and we were playing violins, and his clarinetist wife and I, just the three of us, we played some music by Middle Eastern composers who actually had trained in some ways in the UK perhaps, or in Vienna. So it was a mixture of style. But I never forget playing this rather unusual music, and suddenly there was a very rude noise in the middle of it, and everyone burst out laughing. It was a camel that seemed to be outside the embassy compound reacting to the music. He's wonderful. I mean, he's a lovely person. He's also a fabulous musician. I mean, he is such a fabulous musician. And we have lots of laughs. And in fact, he's coming, in December, he wrote me an email the other day saying, is there room at the inn on December the 1st? Oh. So I was tempted to say, well, don't come on the 25th, it'll be bung full, like for a certain other person. The moment you say that, I have to be honest, it's like if you ask me who's my favourite composer, Schubert always pops into my head, first of all. But Salzburg popped in just now, and Salzburg at Christmas is utter perfection, because it's so beautiful. It's where Mozart grew up. The music in the cathedral is only one of several churches doing music, but it is so perfect. There's the midnight service. End of that service, about 1:30, you've been in that church for 2 hours, and suddenly in the side gallery, the end of this huge service with the Archbishop and so on, there are 2 tenors with 2 guitars singing Silent Night, because it was written very close by, and it was written because the organ had packed up and they had guitars, and that at 1:30 in the morning is very touching. As it gets to about 10 minutes before the procession comes, you're hearing the orchestra, and there's an orchestra way back in the West Gallery who are warming up. The bassoon and the French horns start to make sound, and honestly it's just like the cattle are lowing in the shed in Bethlehem. And that sound is very moving. And then suddenly, the choir, it's a full choir plus, fully professional soloists start to sing. And it was written by the director of music about 1920 or something. So it's full of emotion, and this surges up, this sound. And as the procession comes down, it's just, that's why Salzburg.